I really was not prepared to talk in front here today. I have a conference tonight about what's going on in Puerto Rico. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the privatization of the education in Puerto Rico and the charter schools. Puerto Rico, we have a very strong sentiment against privatization. We have fought very hard battles against privatization. We had, in 1998, governor of Puerto Rico. Governor of Puerto Rico proposed to sell the Puerto Rico Telephone Company, which was a very big company, public corporation we have in Puerto Rico. There were two unions there, very militant, and they led a fight against the privatization of that company. And that struggle led to a general strike. The unions of the company made a strike for, I think it was like 30 days, and unions in support of that struggle made a general strike for 3 days, and it was really, the country was mobilized against the privatization of the telephone company. In that same year, Governor Rosselló is the governor of, in Puerto Rico we have two main political parties, similar to United States. We have the NPP, New Progressive Party. They are divided in support. One sector supports the Republican Party in the United States, the other sector supports the Democratic Party. And the Popular Democratic Party, which is the other main political party in Puerto Rico, they mainly support the Democratic Party. So most of the Puerto Ricans support the Democratic Party because I mean, the NPP is like probably half and half, and the PDP is completely supporting the Democratic Party. And however, well, as in the United States, they both are actively privatizing anything that can be privatized in the island, and they have been doing that. But with public school is very difficult for them to do it for several reasons. Working class children and poor people in Puerto Rico, they go to public schools. I suppose it's the same as the United States. We have there were 800,000 students in public schools, so it's a huge amount of people going to public schools in Puerto Rico, and they have been talking about implementing the chartered schools in the island for about 15 years. And there was, I would say, Governor Rosselló, he pushed a law that recognized the right of the central government employees to have a collective bargaining. That was back in 1998. He was trying to divide the labor movement in the struggle against the privatization of the telephone company. We call that Law 45, 1998, and that law is important because even when it recognized the right of the central government employees to bargain, it prohibited the strikes. And any collective actions against the government, it was illegal. And it's important because there was a very strong union in the teachers. The Federation of Teachers of Puerto Rico, they had, before that law, they had like 13,000 members. It was a very strong union with presence in every community of the island. I mean, we had in Puerto Rico before 1,500 schools in an island that is 35 miles by 100 miles. You know, it's a very small island. We have lots of schools. There's a school in each community, and there was a very strong union in the teachers sector. So once the Federation of Teachers got the representation of the teachers with this law 45, the teachers union increased a lot, and they had, by 2005, they had 33,000 members. And they went on strike, even when the strike was illegal by the law approved in 1998. They went on strike, they were bargaining a contract, and there was, they were not, they had a conflict in the table of negotiations, right? Several issues, but one of them was the charter system, that the Federation of Teachers were opposed to the implementation of the privatization of the education and using charter systems for privatizing the education. And the strike went on for, I think that was 15 days, and they lost the strike, but they stopped the charter systems, charter schools. And that's the good news. The bad news, the bad news is that union has now like 2,000 members only. The teacher unions, there are 4 teacher unions now. They are fragmented, divided, demoralized, and there are no representatives actually, because the Federation of Teachers was decertified by Law 45. They expelled much of the leadership of the Federation of Teachers. And now, actually, and then there were some internal differences and divisions, and 2 groups separated from the Federation of Teachers. Now, as I said, we have 4 unions. None of them is formally recognized as representative of the teachers. And actually the biggest one now is one that traditionally has supported one of these parties, the Popular Democratic Party. It was affiliated to the SCIU, but I think they disaffiliated after they lost an election to become the representatives. The other sectors voted no in the elections, and the Association of Teachers, which that's the name of the union, they lost the election, and the teachers, even though when they want a union, they didn't want that union to be the representative, so they voted against it. And now the teachers don't have a representative, official representative. They are trying to get another vote for that. And probably if they do, the government hasn't approved another vote for the teachers to get their representation, but probably if they do, the Association of Teachers will win. And as I said, they usually approve the measures pushed forward by the Popular Democratic Party, which is not good. However, the charter schools have not been able to be implemented in Puerto Rico since then. But what they have been doing in the past 2 years, the Department of Education has a lot of money, and money usually don't get to the schools. That's a big problem. There's a bureaucratic administrative thing there that schools don't get the money. So there's a big problem with the public school system in Puerto Rico. Obviously, privatization is not an answer to that. What the government is doing is that they are, since the economic crisis that Puerto Rico is going on is very, very dramatic, there's tens of thousands of people are leaving the country each year. Figures are about 40,000 people. Well, actually, there are 70,000 people going on each year since 2008 coming to the United States, and there are like 27,000 going back to Puerto Rico. So the balance is like 40,000 people are leaving the country each year. So the population of Puerto Rico, for the first time in probably more than a century, is decreasing. So the government is using that as an excuse to close a lot of schools, public schools. They have been closing decades of schools, and now they are proposing for August, for this academic year, they will close about 100 schools additionally, besides what they have closed up to date. And the unions are fighting that thing. I mean, even when the population is decreasing, that we admit that, the thing is that classrooms usually have 30 students. You know, that's a lot. And if with less students, if they can have 23, 24, that's even better for the education. I mean, teachers can provide much better education like that. The answer is not to close public schools and then move students from their community to another community and then make classrooms bigger. I mean, that's not a good thing to do. So the unions are now fighting that process of closing schools, and we have to say the actual government has had several plans of reforms, counter reforms, we can say. They reformed the pension plans of the central government employees. Well, basically the reform is to destroy the pension plans of the employees. The teachers have a separate pension plan, and they try to dismantle the pension plan of the teachers. The teachers went on strike. They created the United Front of 4 unions that they have, and they made a strike. That was in 2013, like 2 years ago, and it was a very massive strike. They stopped almost, they paralyzed almost all the schools in the island. They had a very huge support of the people, and actually the Supreme Court of Puerto Rico declared unconstitutional the law that dismantled the pension plan. The problem is that the pension plan has economic problems, and now the government says, okay, you don't want that reform, then we're not going to do anything about it. There are some proposals to tax big companies and give money to the pension plan. I mean, the government has not been giving the money they have to the plan. So, and the actual position of them is that, okay, you didn't want what we did, so we're not going to do anything else. And that's a problem, and that's another struggle that the teachers have to do in the coming years. They had this pension plan reform. They had a tax reform that they did recently. They increased taxes for people. They have been putting taxes, for everything. Gas, they increased gas taxes. They increased the sales tax from 7%. They increased it to 11.5%. Actually, the intentions were to increase it to 16%, and there were big mobilizations against that reform, that tax reform plan, and they did it for 11%. Even with the demonstrations against it, they approved it. And now the plan is to go for the educational reform. And the president of the Senate, which is a powerful man, obviously, in the PDP party, which is the one in government now, his plan is to bring charter schools to Puerto Rico. So that's the next fight that we have to do in the educational sector. I don't think that they will have time to do it before the elections, general elections. Puerto Rico, things are very, I think it's even more than in the United States. The political, when we are close to the elections, the political parties are very cautelous. Is that correct? Cautious. They are very cautious of coming up with things that will have the opposition of the people, because they will lose the elections. So usually 1 year before the elections, they don't come with these reforms that will generate a lot of protests. So I don't think that the charter schools are coming up for next year, but most probably the other party is going to win the elections because of these tax increases that this government has approved. And the other party is the one that is much closer to the Republicans. And usually, what they do, these two parties, is one comes with a plan and then loses the election, and then the other one comes and completes the plan. I mean, that's very common. It happened with the last privatization in the island was the privatization of the airport, the national airport of Puerto Rico. Now the administration belongs to a Mexican company. And the NPP, the New Progressive Party, which was the party before these last 4 years, they came up with this idea. And the Popular Democratic Party opposed that privatization. But when they won the elections, the first thing they did is they completed the privatization. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, yeah, okay. And so we have to be very careful because I'm pretty sure that the charter school, they are going to try to implement the charter school. And now, sadly to say, they have a more favorable environment to do it because of the divisions in the teachers' unions. But so far, there's no charter school in Puerto Rico. Let me see what else I wanted to do. In Puerto Rico, about the segregation problem, Puerto Rico has this segregation because many people send their children to private schools. Rich people, almost all of them, have their children in private schools. So the segregation is not racial, but a class segregation, as some of the speakers talk about. Middle class and upper class, they will send the kids to private schools. So I mean, rich people don't mind if public schools, you know, screw up. I mean, they don't have their children there. You know, that's a big problem. I mean, the children of the politicians of these two parties, they go to private schools. So that's a problem that we have. I think the initiative about the referendum is great. I mean, if that can be done in California, that would be great. In Puerto Rico, we don't have that opportunity of getting endorsements for an initiative to go to a referendum. Actually, I belong to a new political party in Puerto Rico, the People's Working Party, and that's one of the proposals that we have that should be, you know, every state should have that. I mean, that's a democratic thing, popular initiative to make things change, and I think that's a great initiative. I hope you have a success in that. Actually, I have a very good friend who teaches in UCLA, and I'm going to talk to him to support you with some endorsements. And his name is Cesar Ayala. He's a sociology professor in UCLA, and I hope you have success. Thank you very much. Saying that for a couple of years, that the debt of Puerto Rico, the public debt of Puerto Rico, is not payable. There's no way to pay that debt. And he denied that until recently. He finally recognized that the debt is not payable. And they are still paying it. And they are paying the debt. I mean, they are paying the debt against the services for the people and eliminating benefits for the working class. They have frozen labor contracts in the government. They have been reducing. Well, actually, the previous government, they fired between 20 and 30,000 employees, public employees, just fired. They have been reducing the workload for government employees. Municipalities have done that across the island, reducing the workload. I mean, to probably half. That means you get half the salary. I mean, I don't know how people can live with salaries in Puerto Rico are not high. Public employees don't have high salaries. So they have been increasing the taxes. They have been attacking the pension plans. I mean, they couldn't do it with the pension plan for the teachers, but the central government employees, they don't have any plan anymore. I mean, in 2000, the previous governor, Rosselló, I talked about him, he eliminated, what he did is, okay, from now on, there's no pension plan for employees. I mean, you can have one if you get a 401k, is that the name of it, right? 401k, and the government will not put money on that. I mean, that's your plan, it's independent, it's a privatization of the thing. And for employees before that, entered the government before that, they did have the plan. The new reform that this other government of the other party pushed forward and that they approved for the central government employees is that even before, I mean, you lose the plan. So there's no pension plan in the central government. They wanted to do that in the University of Puerto Rico too. But they have a problem with the University of Puerto Rico. The University of Puerto Rico has 2 strong unions, and the professors' union is not one of them, sadly to say. But they have, I mean, we work together to oppose the reform of the pension plan for the university, and they did nothing to it. Actually, they did something. They increased the individual contribution of the employees, but you know, that's not a major thing. As to lose, you know, the benefits of the pension plan. I mean, that's a huge thing for most employees. I mean, but they have been attacking the working class conditions of the people, and that's how they are paying the debt. And they are they hired. I'm going to talk about that tonight. They hired Ann Kruger, which is a consultant for the IMF, International Monetary Fund.
The chief investment advisor for the IMF, and she was the vice president for the IMF and chief economist for the...
to improve confidence among the creditors. And she's negotiating with the government and the creditors to see what they are going to do with the public debt. But the government they go there to the negotiation table in their knees. I mean, just give me a break, I'm going to pay everything, you know, but certainly the debt is increasing. They have been taking debt to pay the interest of the debt. I mean, when you do that, you're in big trouble. And they have been doing that. Actually, this government now, they wanted to get a $3 billion loan, and they haven't been able to get it. And you know, that's why they are saying, okay, we cannot pay. They don't have money probably to pay the payroll of public employees. I mean, on bringing external capital to export with tax exemption. So they don't pay taxes. I mean, big companies that are taking billions of dollars in profits each year from the island, and they don't pay taxes. I mean, you cannot work like that. I mean, it's not going to work like that.